Welcome. This course is to provide educators with foundational knowledge about the pathways to U.S. citizenship. This knowledge will support your learning as both a professional educator and as a human being who can serve as an advocate and ally for your students and families. The information covered in this course will also help you become an informed practitioner and resource for your entire school community. We have divided the course learning into 5 modules. First, we will provide an overview of key terminology related to U.S. citizenship and immigration statuses. Second, we will discuss a rationale for why educators need to be informed about U.S. citizenship, policies, procedures, and resources. Third, we will talk about the significance and value of becoming a U.S. citizen. We will discuss the rights and responsibilities of both citizens and non-citizens, as well as some of the limitations experienced by U.S. residents who lack citizenship. Fourth, we will overview the naturalization process. We will discuss eligibility requirements, as well as common mistakes people make that may prohibit them from pursuing the naturalization pathway to citizenship. And finally, in the 5th module, we will demonstrate how to navigate the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services website to help you find reliable information to support students and families in avoiding immigration fraud. Before we begin, we want to acknowledge that this presentation is part of an innovation grant funded by the Department of Homeland Security and U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. It was developed in partnership with the American Place Division of the Hartford Public Library. The views and conclusions contained in all instructional modules of the course are those of the authors and should not be interpreted as necessarily representing the official policies, either expressed or implied, of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Throughout this course, we encourage you to take notes, hit pause, read, review, and revisit information as needed. We have included a note-taking handout among the downloadable files of this course, which you may print and use to organize your thoughts for future reference as you complete each module. Please feel free to share this course and the associated resources with anyone who you know who could benefit from them. Each module contains invaluable resources for immigrant students and families in your school community and educators like you working to support them. So let's begin. This first module is going to overview terminology related to U.S. citizenship and immigrant statuses. At the end of this module, you will be able to define the difference between citizens and non-citizens, as well as types of immigrants and non-immigrants. When you think about all of the people who are in the United States right now, they are going to fall into one of 2 categories. They are either U.S. citizens or they are not U.S. citizens. People are made U.S. citizens by birth, by acquisition, or by naturalization. People who are born in any of the 50 states or in most U.S. territories are citizens of the United States by birth. Those born outside of the United States, whose parents are U.S. citizens, may become a U.S. citizen themselves by acquisition before the age of 18. People who do not meet the conditions for citizenship by birth or by acquisition can still become U.S. citizens by naturalization. In this course, we will be discussing in particular the naturalization route to U.S. citizenship, though it is good to keep in mind that one person's path to becoming a U.S. citizen can look very different from another person's path. There are 4 groups of non-U.S. citizens that you are especially likely to encounter in your role as an educator. We will discuss these 4 groups in detail in this course, though there are other types of non-U.S. citizen statuses to be aware of as well, some of which are listed on the next slide. First, let's talk about residents. The category of U.S. resident we will be discussing in the greatest detail in this course is that of lawful permanent resident or green card holder. It is critical for you to know that in order to be eligible for the naturalization process, a person must first be a lawful permanent resident or green card holder for 3 to 5 years. Whether the 3-year minimum or the 5-year minimum applies to the potential candidate for naturalization depends on the circumstances through which they were made a lawful permanent resident. If a green card holder is married to a U.S. citizen, they may be eligible to apply for citizenship after 3 years as a lawful permanent resident. Otherwise, the 5-year minimum likely applies. If someone is classified as a conditional permanent resident, it generally means that this person has immigrated to the United States on a marriage visa. They have received a conditional green card, granting them legal clearance to live and work in the United States, like any other green card holder. But if they wish to maintain these permissions, they are likely to be required to apply to update their status to lawful permanent resident before 2 years have elapsed. Non-immigrant visa holders are people who have temporary permission to be in the United States due to meeting certain specific conditions. Non-immigrant visa holders include students enrolled in U.S. programs, workers completing projects for U.S. employers, and travelers through the United States who do not intend to remain in the country on a permanent basis. These are other non-immigrant visa holders are given permission to be in the United States for a specific purpose and period of time. Refugees and asylees are people who are seeking protection. Refugees are people fleeing their home country due to persecution, whereas asylees are already in the United States at the time they request protection, but have a fear of returning to their home country for similar reasons. The last group we are going to discuss here are undocumented immigrants. Undocumented immigrants are people who live in the United States with no current legal immigration status. They may have entered the United States without permission, or they may have entered with temporary permission, but that permission has expired. An example might be a former non-immigrant visa holder, such as a person who had a work visa, but did not renew their visa in time, letting it expire despite remaining within the United States. The note at the bottom of this slide mentions that there are other non-U.S. citizen statuses not fully described above. If you would like to learn more about these and other types of non-citizen residents in the United States, please consult the Reliable Resources handout found among this course's downloadable files. The Reliable Resources handout includes links to materials that provide a more detailed listing and explanation of many statuses of non-U.S. citizens. We encourage you to read these materials and explore them as they become relevant to you and the students and families you work with. We are now going to talk more about what it means to be a lawful permanent resident or green card holder. As a critical reminder, the status of green card holder is what provides people with a pathway to U.S. citizenship through the naturalization process. There are several categories to which a person may belong in order to be eligible for a green card. The two most common eligibility categories are family-based and employment-based. The U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services website, which will be reviewed in Module 5, provides detailed lists and descriptions of each of the eligibility categories listed above. The Reliable Resources handout also provides a direct link to a listing of green card eligibility categories if you would like to review them at this time. Green card holders have some of the same rights as U.S. citizens. For example, they can legally live and work in the United States. They are eligible for Social Security and Medicare benefits. And traveling in and out of the United States is easier for green card holders than it is for immigrants without a green card. Another very important right that comes with lawful permanent residence is the ability to petition for or sponsor close family members to live in the United States. This slide includes screenshots from the printable brochure on the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services website, which overviews the 10 steps to naturalization. Here, we are just showing step 1 and step 2 to re-emphasize the importance of 1, understanding if you already are a U.S. citizen, and 2, understanding that a key eligibility requirement for naturalization is having been a permanent resident for at least 3 to 5 years. Now is a good time for you to hit pause and review resources on different types of immigration statuses and eligibility requirements. The resources shown here are hyperlinked on the Reliable Resources handout, which is a downloadable document found at the beginning of this course and embedded within each module. Please use these resources to build your own knowledge and share them with others. As a reminder of the content explored in this first module, we overviewed terminology related to U.S. citizenship and immigrant statuses. We also defined the difference between citizens and non-citizens, as well as different types of immigrant and non-immigrant statuses. To self-check your learning, please complete the comprehension questions found directly below this video before moving on to Module 2.